Over 500,000 people go missing in the United States each year. African Americans represent approximately 13 to 14% of the U.S. population, yet nearly 40% of missing person cases involve African Americans or people of color. Family, join me today as me and my guests discuss missing persons and the society that already see them as invisible. Do me a favor, family, call your friends, tell them to meet me at the spot. Hey family, welcome back to another episode of Naomi Spot. I am your host, Natasha Naomi Dukes. Today we are talking missing persons and the society that already see them as invisible. I am joined today by some awesome reporters of missing persons. I'm going to start off introducing to you Sergio Cruel. Sergio Cruel is a multimedia journalist for Fox 29, Chasing News, Fox 5 New York, as well as currently Spectrum News 1. Welcome, Sergio.
Hey Naomi, how you doing? I appreciate you for having me.
I am doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking some time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. Sergio, we have a video clip that we want to show real quick, and then we're going to come back and get into some questions for you. Is that okay?
Yes.
Hey, what's going on, and welcome to the show. My name is Sergio Cruel. For those of y'all who do not know who I am, I'm a journalist. I've been doing this for about a decade now. Currently, I work for a news station called Spectrum News in upstate New York. Again, I've been doing this for a while, and welcome to Deep into Journalism. So on this show, I'm going to be talking about or helping families that have a missing loved one. This is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that I've realized being in my position. A lot of cases, unfortunately, don't get covered and will not get covered. And it's very unfortunate. There's so many families out there who need help. And unfortunately, there's not enough space on TV to really make that happen. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I want y'all to check out this story right here. This was my first missing person case. The story of Andrew Berry.
I can't sleep at night. I don't have the right answers for my children that's asking for their dad.
Tracy Zegler's husband, Andrew Berry, is missing. Their fourth child was born on Monday, but Andrew was not there. No one has seen or heard from him since he walked out the doors of his Northeast Philadelphia home 11 days ago. Tracy made plans to go furniture shopping with Andrew's mother. Andrew told Tracy that he was going out and that he would be right back.
I remember walking probably in about 6 different stores and spending a lot of time in that neighborhood, walking up to different people and just trying to figure out what happened to this guy. And when it comes to a lot of missing person cases, this is what families need to understand. Before I get to that, because this is right here on your screen right now. So, as you can see, I was happy that somebody said the truth when it comes to certain missing person cases. And I get it. There's a difference there's a difference when it's a kid versus an adult. I totally understand that. But when it comes to somebody's missing person, someone's family member, race shouldn't play a part in it at all. I covered this case not because Andrew was another black man like me. I covered the case because I had a platform.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow. Let me just ask you something. Why do you think race is an issue when it comes to missing person cases?
Well, Naomi, first, again, thank you for having me. And we don't have enough time because I could talk about that all day. But I think that, when it comes to these cases, here's the reality. People who are in position, media people, police officers, so forth and so forth, they will never say what the reality is, right? They won't say, well, no, we only cover this certain group because X, Y, and Z. They will never say that. That's just what it is. Okay. But in my personal opinion, I think it's just because the way society, right? I think it goes all the way back to, beginning of time, how people viewed Black people, how people view people of color. So that just kind of got passed on. When news first started, it wasn't for us. It wasn't to tell our stories. It was
Right.
to tell other people's stories. So I think it really starts from way back in the day.
Wow. From your experience, what are the most common misconceptions the public have about missing person cases, and how do those misconceptions affect investigations?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest misconception is that you have to wait 24 hours to report someone missing, which is not true. I mean, that was something that was pretty popular back in the day, but it's not necessarily true. If you call your local police department and tell them specifically, listen, this is my person. They are not where they are supposed to be. This is their age, this is their name, and give them all that information. By law, they have to take that report at the bare minimum. As far as investigating, that's a different conversation. But at least they have to at least take down that report. Another misconception is that sometimes families believe that it's only up to the investigators. Being a journalist, I have to say both sides. It's not just up to them. That's your person. Your person is missing. Yes, they do work for us because we pay taxes.
Right.
But it's your missing person, so you have to go beyond what they can do. So I think those are some of the two biggest misconceptions.
Oh, wow. So let me ask you, if you suspect that a loved one is missing, or you've been calling, say a parent has been calling their child, they can just immediately go to the police department and report them as missing?
Yes. So you have to go down to the actual department, and they have to put in a report. They have to. I mean, it's law. They have to put in a report. And if you have an issue, that's when you can kind of take it up to a different level. But at least at the bare minimum, they have to take that report. So I know, again, back in the day, you put missing people on milk cartons and putting them in the newspaper as well. That was pretty popular back in the day, but this is a different time. And I think that, law enforcement agencies, they need to do a better job of updating the public and letting them know, listen, you can come down to the station and you can report your person missing.
Right.
They have to at least put in a report.
Do you think it also has to do with knowing your rights? Because I think sometimes if you're ignorant to the laws, you can be taken advantage. Because I've met many people who've had their children missing, or a mother, and they said they went to the police department to report it, and they were told no, they have to wait. Come back in 2 or 3 days if you don't hear anything back.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that we all need to know our rights as human beings. We do. I mean, I take great pleasure in reading the Constitution. I take great pleasure, unfortunately, in reading police departments' handbooks. And I think that, and it's right on their website. They have to take the report. It's in their bylaws.
Wow.
They have to take down that report. And it does play a major part. And I would say to the person out there who may have gone down to the police department or will in the future, unfortunately, listen, put pressure on them or call a chief.
Right.
Call a chief. Now, I know y'all in Philly. Call me. I'll make sure your report gets taken. I'll make sure of that.
Yeah, so see, families sometimes don't take what they tell you about coming back. Sometimes you have to go over top of someone's head. Let me just ask you, when a case first breaks, what factors tend to influence whether a missing person receives sustained media coverage or is overlooked?
Oh, man. Hey, Miss Naomi, I don't want to take over your show because, again, I could talk about this stuff all day long.
Go ahead.
All right, so the first thing is, we all need to understand that, that video clip that you saw, the second one that was my first missing person case back in 2015. And I did that story because this was a guy who was missing. People were talking about it and it gained a lot of attention. So it's really up to the reporter, first and foremost.
Okay.
The reporter, the person that's seeing these stories. And then you have to have a conversation with your producers. They have to be able to see value. But to be honest with you, I'm fortunate enough to, even in regards to that case, I went to my producer and I gave him the X, Y, and Z, why we should do this case. Mm-hmm. Why we should do this case. This is, the reason why we decided to move forward with this case was because this mother, the mother that you saw on there, she had about, I think, 4 kids at the time, and she had one on the way. And she was going through a lot of stress because of all the, her husband went missing.
Sure.
So the viewership is women. Women love true crime. Women are the most are the most watched viewers when it comes to news. That's just the reality of that. When it comes to sports, it's men.
Is kicking in. I said our intuition is always kicking in, so we're always.
It's always kicking in. So what I like, because I understand how the business works, what I like to do is, when I'm pitching a story to my producer, I'll say, hey, listen, the forefront was this mother. This wife who had 4 or 5 kids, who was going through all that stress because her husband was missing, and she gave birth to her child prematurely. When I heard about the story, he was already missing for over a week. Wow. I was on my way to work, and I heard about the story on the radio. I think it was Power 99 actually, and I'm like, man, she was pleading, she was crying, she was asking for help. So it was my duty. So it was my duty as a reporter to take it to my manager, to take it to my producer, and we decided to move forward with that. I didn't know it was going to turn into my career, but that plays a major role. Wow. Secondly, and I'm just being honest with you, certain producers, certain news directors, they just don't want to cover because of what that particular station's agenda is or vision is. That's just the reality. You know what I'm saying? So you're dealing with people that come from all sorts of backgrounds that are all working in one place. So you need somebody to stand up and say, listen, we need to cover these cases.
Right. So you think like politics play a big part in who we see actually the police going after versus more than others?
I will personally say yes. Now, can I prove it? I can't prove it. The reason why I can't prove it is because, one, they will never say it. That's first and foremost. Sure. Secondly, there's no criteria. There's no even if in regards to the National Center for Black and Missing and Exploited Children, all those national organizations, there's no rubric on how police or go after these cases. That's the thing. Okay. A missing person is considered missing if they are not where they are supposed to be. Okay. But there's no guideline. Yes, when it comes to children, it's different. If a 5-year-old kid goes missing, absolutely, you want to do. Of course, police are going to go after that as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to an adult, that's something completely different because I can go missing tomorrow. Maybe I went on vacation. Maybe I just needed some time away, right? So they kind of go about that a little bit differently. But also, too, what I've learned in my experience, and I'm dealing with that right now with a case up here in Rochester, where the police, and I have a great relationship with law enforcement up here, but the issue is that I'm the type of person where I'm like, listen, you have everything you need. There are the cameras right there. I'm going to show you there are the cameras. Mm-hmm. Why does it take us so long to view cameras when you have the exact timeline, you have the exact date, you have all the information that you need? So again, listen, I'm not 100% anti-police. I don't want to come off as that. But the reality is that when you have certain people in power that make large decisions, and if they don't like you, the reality is that they may take their sweet time. And that's all I really consider when it comes to that.
Sergio, I remember having some conversation with you, and I remember you mentioning that sometimes these cases are assigned to the overnight investigator or the whoever's on at nighttime, and how much they can they actually get much done being, they're on in the nighttime when everything is closed. Why do you think they do that?
Well, I think that a lot of people don't know this, and this is something that I'm sharing. A lot of police agencies or police departments don't have a missing person unit. And that's something that I learned kind of later on in my career. Philadelphia, they do. They do have a missing person unit. I think this is something that's fairly new over the past few years. Okay. But for a long time, they didn't really have a unit. So, of course, you want to kind of assign those cases to whoever is up next. So I've dealt with many, many cases where a person was missing and they gave it to a detective that worked overnight. So as someone from a media side that's trying to help this family, that's trying to get in contact with police, I'm not answering my phone, after a certain time, right? So I can't expect a detective to answer the phone after a certain time. Sure. Now, again, when it comes to, politics, I don't have all the answers in regards to that, and why they make those certain decisions to give those cases off. But I can only say, how much can a detective, just using logic here, how much can somebody do at night? Absolutely. You're not going to go search. If you drop your keys outside in the grass, and it's dark outside, you're probably going to use a light, right, to try to find those keys. So that's a good question. I wish I had the answer, but I also believe that's a question that we need to challenge our local government on why they assign those cases. You cannot you're not going to physically look for someone at night. You're just not. You're not going to do that.
Absolutely. Let me ask you, how do journalists balance the need to raise public awareness with the responsibility to avoid harming an active investigation or re-traumatizing families?
Yeah, well, so for me personally, I think that as far as re-traumatizing families, I think you need to have a great relationship with the family. For me personally, I started covering missing person cases because I was just in position to help. I don't consider myself a reporter. Honestly, because I think there's a negative view when it comes to reporters. I'm just a guy who worked really hard, and I got the opportunity, and I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in. So I have to use that position to make sure that I help as many people as possible. Okay. So my relationships with families are just, listen, my job is to help. Okay, I'm the media guy. I can do a lot on my side, but you also have the other side of that is you have to have a great relationship with law enforcement because that relationship is extremely important. I have a phenomenal relationship with law enforcement up here, and they help me out with a lot. They don't have to tell me anything. They just don't. Their job is to serve the family. They don't have to tell me anything. They don't have to tell the media anything, but it's a relationship, right? It's a two-sided relationship. They want help. They want to use our platforms to make sure that, we get the word out there, and we need them to be able to inform the public. We need them to be able to help the family as well, right? So in regards to making sure we don't impede on the investigation, most times what will happen is if I'm dealing with a case specifically right now, the PIO, which is the public information officer, he may say, listen, Sergio, this is what I can give you. This other side is embargoed for a minute, which means this is kind of delayed. Please don't put this out as of now because that can actually hurt an investigation. So it's kind of like a dance. You kind of have to dance a little bit. You have to use wisdom and figure out what's the best way to essentially give the information to the public, but also make sure you don't impede on that investigation. Because what if, there was a situation where someone may have taken your missing person, right? You have to be able to give specific details to make sure that person isn't harmed. So it's really a delicate balance.
So what role can responsible community engagement and social media play in helping or hindering the search for missing persons?
All right, I see this all the time. I love social media. I love social media. To be honest with you, it's better. Listen, it's better than TV. I'm gonna be honest with you because you can reach extremely way more people if you're not specifically like I'm on every morning, Monday through Friday, every morning at 6 a.m. If you're not watching me at 6 a.m. or the time span that I'm on, you're missing the information.
Right. You're
missing the information. So when it's on social media, it lives there. So I love social media, but the flip side of that is. And this is no fault, I want to say, but sometimes social media becomes investigators.
Yes.
They become investigators, in which that is not helpful, to be honest with you. And I've seen this in the Kata Scott's case, and I know we'll get to that later, but I've seen people begin to try to help the police out. Right. And then you have these other people who, that are speaking to social media, people on social media who are not trained in journalism, because the reality is that, again, it's a delicate balance. You have to have some sort of wisdom on how you're going about doing that. And I've seen certain situations where you have people regurgitate information that's not even true or speculate. A lot of people on social media speculate.
Right.
And that's the thing. Speculation can be a dangerous game because now you're dropping seeds. You're dropping seeds into people's brains that may not even be reality of what's happening. I'm dealing with a case right now where this kid, well, he's not a kid, he's a 24-year-old young man who essentially left his house, but it's freezing cold, flip-flops and a t-shirt. It looked like he was coming back from the surveillance video that I saw. Okay. It literally looked like he was just walking outside. We put it on social media after we ran it on TV, but you have people in the comments saying, "Oh, maybe he walked off he wanted to get away from his family." And then what happened is you'll have somebody else take that information and start doing some deep dive information and trying to put 2 and 2 together, or 2 and 5 together. Trying to fit a square in a round hole, which it doesn't fit. So then you're hurting that investigation. So I think, but also social media plays a great role as well, in trying to get the information out there. So I think social media, in regards to the initial, hey, this person is missing, that's what it's great for. To get the initial information out. Anything after that, I personally believe, is just speculation.
Wow. So after covering so many cases of missing persons, what patterns or systematic gaps have you noticed, and what changes do you believe could improve outcomes for families searching for their loved ones?
Well, I think the biggest thing is there needs to be a kind of like a rubric, right, in regards for media, but also for law enforcement agencies, because again, there's no one size fit all when it comes to a missing person. So that's kind of one of the biggest things that I see. I have relationships with private investigators and search and rescue guys. One of my mentors, he's been covering missing persons or helping families for over 3 decades, and I've gone out on searches with him, and it's a very tedious job. So for the folks out there. Yeah, so for the folks out there who actually put their boots on the ground to try to go help somebody else, another family member, another family that is not their own, I commend them for that. But I think that, again, some of those things that are kind of missing would be, what should people do when someone goes missing? That's number one. Also, two, there needs to be some sort of a guideline for investigators. How do you go about, Johnny, who went missing, 4-year-old Johnny or 4-year-old Raheem, right? Or if you deal with Susie, or you deal with Suzanne, you deal with Mark, or you deal with Malik, right? There needs to be some sort of a guideline on how to go about searching, for missing people. Adults are different. Adults are really, really different. You have to deal with those cases differently, and I totally understand that. But also too, in regards to the media side, I think that we need to be put in a position, and I say that for myself as well, to understand that these platforms, that we give information out to the public, people trust that. Yeah. People trust their local news outlet, right? But what most people don't understand is it's so many layers that's in there. Most people don't even know how the news operate. They just don't.
Yeah, you're right about that. Absolutely.
They just don't understand how it even operates. So at the bare minimum right now, I think the biggest thing that is helpful, and I can't stress it enough, there needs to be a guideline on how to cover these cases, because, wrong information, wrong photos, and I want to say this to families out there who are watching this: if you're going to report your person missing, make sure that it's not a black and white photo. Make sure that also too is what the person looked like currently, because if you try to report your daughter missing and right now she got braids, but the photo that you use is her with short hair or pink hair, that may or may not work. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So there needs to be a rubric, even for all the national organizations, Black, all of them. They take in so many cases, and I know they have their own specific rules, but there needs to be one kind of guideline to help as many people as possible.
Wow. Maybe you might be the person to give us that.
I don't have an issue doing that, Naomi. I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas, but really it's to help these families. And it's just the same. You mentioned some numbers. I think it's over about collectively like 600,000 people are reported missing every year. You're talking about over 460 or somewhere in that range of, that's children. Yeah. 460,000 children being reported missing every year. You gave the statistic, 13% of Black. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
It is.
It's very scary. When media coverage slows or investigations start to lose their momentum, what systems or lack of systems have you observed that determine whether a missing person case will continue to receive attention and resources?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you two sides. There was a case that we covered with the station that I currently work for, where there was a college student who went missing at a very popular college in Rochester. And I asked my manager, I said, why are we covering this case? This is a college student who essentially police, they said, well, he may not be in danger. Okay, so he may not be in danger. So why are we wasting space for someone who's not in danger? Right? Because we can be utilizing our resources, our platform to be helping those families who actually need help. Now, his family has some money, right? So, he had some ties with law enforcement agencies, and which kind of pushed us. Hey, can you guys keep putting that case out there? Come to find out, he was just going through some things in college, and he needed a break. His truck was found. They had video of him at a gas station. They tracked his credit card, and all these signs of a person who was not necessarily missing.
Okay.
He just needed a break. Now he was missing to the family.
Yes.
So, but because the family had resources, right? Because the family had contacts.
Okay.
That's how that whole thing intermingled, intertwined. But it's like we still didn't provide resources to other people. So a case that I'm currently working on, the same case right now, it kind of stalled, right? So how do you continue that momentum? Well, it's up to me again to make sure that I keep it in the face of people.
Right.
But there has to be, constant updates. And I get people all the time messaging me, hey, are there any updates to this case? No. But what I try to do is I try to say, hey, listen, you know what? I just reached out to the Rochester Police Department. Right now, they're still looking into X, Y, and Z. I try to give some detail because that shows that people are invested, and that's all you can ask for. People are invested in real time. So, but it's also, again, I go back to, it's not up to the news agency to keep it going. We pick and choose what we do. I pick and choose what stories I want to do.
Sure.
And I believe I'm on the right side of this. Think about those who pick and choose their stories.
Wow.
So, but again, if my brother or whoever went missing, I'm gonna keep pushing as long as it takes. Personally.
Right. You're absolutely right about that. Sergio, I thank you very much. If you can stay put, we're going to come back to you in just a little bit. But you brought me to a thought of a segue to another topic within missing persons, and that is typically when we think about missing persons, we think about, maybe they've been murdered, there's some kind of crime involved, maybe a kidnapping, but people can also be missing because of homelessness. And my next guest is Shirley J. Carter, who actually is an actress, a model, an educator, a researcher of missing persons. She's a past member of the press. She's a member of the ASCA Music Society, radio, TV, and film news reporter. Shirley J. Carter, thank you for joining us today, Shirley.
And it's my pleasure, and thank you for introducing me.
Shirley, let me ask you, you've spent many years in missing persons and reporting on homelessness. Can you tell me, one, is there a difference in the thought of missing persons? Like, is there a definition?
Well, a missing person is a person who is not at their stated address or who does not have their stated phone number. A homeless person can become part of the missing persons group when they can't be found by their loved ones, friends, schools, etc.
Okay. So in your case, when you're researching missing persons, are you specifically looking at homeless people, or you look on both sides?
I look on both sides, but I have a passion for homelessness.
Okay.
And so actually, I started working with the homeless before I started working for missing persons.
Okay.
And then I found out that so many homeless people are also missing people.
Right.
So they go together.
Okay.
They can go together.
Okay.
All homeless people are not missing, but a lot of the missing population is homeless.
Okay. So if someone leaves their home for whatever reason, because we find there's a lot of mental illness when you come across a lot of people who are homeless and roaming the streets. So if a person just decided that they just didn't want to live at home anymore and they decide to go to the streets. Can a family just report them missing? Or
Yes.
are they, okay. Can you explain that
Yes,
for me?
many families report their people missing, but they don't realize that some people do not want to be found.
Okay, that's a great
But
point.
they still can be considered missing persons because somebody's looking for them.
Right.
But many people, as you said, they have mental health problems. They might have had distraught problems with their spouses.
Okay.
Or other people's systems, colleges, etc., and they just go on their way and they don't contact anyone.
Okay.
So someone who's looking for them would consider them missing, but they don't consider themselves missing.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Well, let me ask you, from your reporting, how does homelessness increase the risk that someone will go missing or never officially be reported missing at all?
Because when a person is homeless, they have to go through lots of stresses and they have to go through systems that they're not used to. For example, the shelter system. The shelter system can be very harsh at times and very impersonal. So a person can not be motivated by the shelter system.
Okay.
And they just give up on life. And then they just
Oh, wow.
disappear into the missing persons population.
Oh, wow. So when a missing person is believed to be unhoused, what challenges do investigators and reporters face that the public may not realize?
Well, they face the challenge of trying to find out where the person is. Some people are in shelters, but then some people are living in the streets.
Okay.
Some people have, say somebody in Philadelphia, when they're homeless, they might not like the way they're treated in Philadelphia and they might go to another state.
Okay.
Right now, there are a number of people from Philadelphia who are homeless who are going over to Delaware.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, the Delaware government is complaining to the Philadelphia city government that too many homeless people from Philadelphia are coming over there.
Why are they going to Delaware?
There's something that is different. When a person is homeless, another state may offer something that they feel is more beneficial to them.
Okay.
For example, someone living in, I'll say Philadelphia, and someone living in Chicago, what do we know about the weather?
It's windy.
It's windy and it's cold, right? And what about Florida?
It's warm.
Florida is warm. They won't need so many coats. They won't need so many tents, etc. So they go to Florida to live
Okay.
because it's easier on them. It's easier on them physically, and it's easier on them financially because it's warm down in Florida. And it's beautiful down in Florida.
Right.
So they travel there. And in fact, some states sponsor people to go to another city to live.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, some
That's very interesting.
states and jurisdictions sponsor people to go to another state.
Wow. Well, Shirley, we have a clip. Shirley actually is also on Philly Cam, and she does a show surrounding missing persons. And we're going to watch a clip of Shirley talking to someone who was missing and also homeless.
Yes, but not at this time. They're situated now.
They're situated now. Take a look.
Hi, this is Shirley J. Carter, and today I have a special program, which is the correlation between homelessness and missing persons. Now, all of us have seen missing persons on the streets, but did you know what the correlation between homelessness and missing persons are? The federal government says that missing persons are people who are not at their usual or designated address. And also for homelessness, the government says that it's an individual or family that lacks a designated residence or address. Today, my guest will be Malin Davis. How are you doing, Malin?
Doing fine.
Great. You were homeless at one particular time, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Can I ask you, what caused your homelessness? And elaborate on it.
Yes. Well, what happened is that I got laid off. And that's what really started. I was almost almost approaching 60.
Did you live in a shelter?
I had to go to when I went to the shelter, it was something new. And oh my goodness, I was like, in my 50s, late 50s, and it was really nervous, I was nervous and, and wasn't really stable because I'm not used to shelter. No one used to shelter.
When you were in the shelter system yourself, was there anyone looking for you, and how did you find out about that?
Well, my family, one of them were, and I found out when all of a sudden, they popped up,
Okay, because you weren't at your designated address.
Correct.
Okay, we're making the correlation between being homeless and missing persons.
Yes.
You became a missing person
Yeah.
by being homeless because your family or friends couldn't find you.
Wow, Shirley, just listening to that. So based off of her address, she could be considered missing if she's not
Yes.
at that physical location.
Yes.
Let me ask you, with the shelters, are they required to document who comes in to their doors?
Yes, but they're not, all the shelters don't follow up, as I've been told by a number of people who are homeless, with the person's relatives.
Okay.
They don't necessarily have to reach out to the person's relatives.
Okay. Because I was just listening to that and I was thinking about people going missing, that if the police are looking for them, you would kind of think that a shelter might be one of the first places that they actually may go and look.
Right.
And if the shelters are documenting who's coming in, that's a way that could help them out, at least help them in their search a little bit, right?
Yes, that is a way that they can do it, but it doesn't always happen that way.
Okay. Wow. So you covered many cases. Do missing persons connected to homelessness receive the same urgency as media attention does for others? And why not?
I don't think so. A lot of times when people are homeless, they are overlooked. They are overlooked by society. I'm sure you've heard the stories of people who pass people on the street who is homeless, and the homeless person might ask for money or something like that, and they don't get it and they're overlooked.
Okay.
So the homeless are overlooked more than, I say, missing persons. Missing persons usually get some sort of attention because they're registered with the police department.
Okay.
If someone has registered them with the police department.
Okay. Wow. It's very interesting. How do factors like lack of identification, especially for homeless people, frequent movement or use of aliases complicate efforts to locate missing individuals?
It's a big factor because some homeless people do not have any identification. And some of the reasons for that is what we discussed earlier. A lot of homeless people have a mental problem, in lack of a better word, or some are on drugs, alcohol, and the like. So they would have a more difficult problem getting the attention, of the missing person.
Okay. Wow. What roles do shelters, outreach workers, community advocates play in helping identify or even locate unhoused individuals?
Well, someone that I spoke to who was homeless said that what she called her worker at the shelter provided social services
Okay.
for her, and asked her, have you reached out to your family? Were you working at a job? So those services are available at some shelters.
Okay. Wow. For families watching tonight who fear that a loved one may be homeless and missing, what practical steps should they take first?
Well,
try to find
if they have went the usual circles, for example, if they know who, I'll say the homeless or the missing person's friends are, I would say community groups that they hang out with.
Okay.
Other relatives sometimes know where homeless people and missing persons are because they confide in them. They trust them more than they do those relatives that are looking for them.
Okay.
Those are the people that they can contact to start the process. And also, as we said earlier, that they can call the police department and register the people as missing from the Philadelphia Police Department or wherever it is across the United States.
Now, what can they do if they do not have, say, for example, photographs of their missing person? How do they go about then identifying?
Well, it has been my experience that other people, that person might not have a photograph, but someone they know can have a photograph. For instance, I'll just say, maybe an aunt who's looking for the person doesn't have a photograph, but somebody who they know who was a friend of the missing person or the homeless person can have a photograph and they can get it from that person.
Okay.
They can try, and sometimes places like churches, community centers, schools, and other places have photographs that they can look, yearbooks.
Okay.
There's a number of places that they can do that. But here I would like to bring up a fact. Sometimes people have to go beyond the public systems and they have to engage private investigators.
Okay.
Now, I have had a private investigator on one of my shows, and she was able to retrieve a missing person because, of course, she can spend more time and she can use more resources than the public. But everybody doesn't have money.
Right, absolutely.
You know, to pay a private investigator, but if someone can manage it, a private investigator is good to find a homeless person or a missing person.
Okay. For the average person, they're going to run to the police department.
Yes,
because
that's true.
they have no place else to turn.
Yes.
know. That's why I say not trying to make fun of it, but we need like an equalizer. We really do.
Yes, we do. I agree
Someone
with
that you
there.
can call and
Yes.
they will help you outside of policing hours.
Yes.
Let me go back to identification, because identification is very important. And one thing I find, especially young African Americans, do not carry identification. I worked for many years in hospitality, hotels around the city of Philadelphia, and oftentimes young people would come in and they never had identification. And one thing that I used to say is, listen, you should, especially as a young African American person, you should never leave home without any identification on you. Something could go wrong,
Yes.
anything could happen. And I'm saying this to my audience, please carry identification with you at all times. You never know what could happen. It's one of those things where you mentioned earlier about the homeless people not having any identification
Yes.
on them. And so no one can identify them. No one would be able to put the dots together if they're searching, because some people are suffering with dementia. They have Alzheimer's and they might wander off without any identification, and no one can find them.
Now, I'm going to bring this up. In the city of Philadelphia, if you are homeless, you know, you're unhoused, you don't have identification, you don't have a designated place to stay, the city of Philadelphia provides an address for you.
Okay.
And you can call your local homeless number at the city, and they will tell you where this place is.
Okay.
And you can get the address, and you can use the address for your identification. You
Okay.
can get mail there, etc. And I think more cities should start doing that.
And they're also starting to offer telephones, free cell phones
Yes.
to the residents. If you are in need of a phone, you just reach out to the city and they will get you a cell phone. So if you are wandering the street, one of the things in my ministry, I used to serve the homeless community in downtown Center City, and there were people who had cell phones. And they
Yes.
were city issued. So you can get yourself a phone, and it's important to have if you are homeless or maybe you ran away from home, whatever the situation may be, have some sort of way that someone can get in contact with you. Shirley, let me just ask you real quick, if you could change one policy or reporting practice tomorrow to improve outcomes for missing persons affected by homelessness, what would it be?
Okay, one thing that I think would be more effective, we have our city services, as we said, but I think more private investigators should get involved in this process.
Okay, do some pro bono.
Yes, do some pro bono and maybe lower the cost. Maybe some organizations can provide the private investigators, because the private investigators have more of a leeway
Sure.
to get to sources that the public politicians may not be able to do.
Oh, okay.
So I hope that more private investigators will get involved in it.
Wow. Private investigators, if you are watching this show, you heard from Shirley J. Carter that we need you to get involved. Shirley, let me just ask you, we were talking about cases such as the David case, where the young lady
Yes.
went missing.
Yes.
What have you found so far in your research?
Okay, what I have found out about the David case, which is at this point worldwide.
Sure.
It's a worldwide case. She was being groomed. She was listed as missing at first.
Okay.
But if you really delve into it, you'll find out she wasn't missing because she was living with him.
Okay.
She was being groomed.
Did the family know that?
Yes.
Okay.
They have found out recently that the family knew all about it.
Wow. But she was reported missing.
Yeah, she was reported missing at first because she would run to his house and live with him.
Oh, wow.
But the family, I believe now, no disrespect to the family, they knew where she was all the time because she was living with them. They have proof.
Okay.
They have proof.
So up to the point of her dying, did they ever suspect that something was wrong? They were not hearing from her? Or?
At first, they didn't know that she was being groomed, I don't think. They didn't, they might not have had.
I find that hard to believe because she was like 13 years
Yeah,
old
she
when she
was
first started seeing him.
13.
And he was maybe, what, 22 or something?
No,
or 18?
he was about 18
Okay.
when he first
Okay.
started this relationship with her. But they have, the authorities have recently found out that they knew that she was living with him. The parents knew about it on both sides, David's parents and her parents and the managers of his record company.
So more people are in the know about this thing than what the public knows.
Yes.
It just kind of reminds me of the P. Diddy, you know, bringing up Usher and Bieber.
Yes.
Him, you know, them staying under his authority or whatever. The families know that they're leaving. Why would you leave your child with this grown man overnight? That doesn't make sense to me.
What about?
But they're looking
the
at
key word,
his name and his wealth.
Yeah, wealth. That's it. That's it. They probably looked at the aspect of the money that they have probably received.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure.
we don't want to jump the gun and say that we know they received the money, because we have to have respect for the family.
Sure.
But I think, I can say that, I think they may have known that he was taking care of her financially.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm going to bring Sergio into this conversation.
Yes.
Sergio, why would people leave their children with these people such as P. Diddy and whoever else? Because there's so many of these people who are some kind of way becoming responsible. Well, I'm not going to say some kind of way, because the parents are turning them over to them. But in this situation with David, they knew where she was, yet they reported her as being missing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. It's wealth.
Yes.
But I do want to get some context. I'm not too privy on or too familiar with the case that you're referring to. So if you can just kind of give me some details on that.
Oh, sure. So David is the young man who I think he was like a singer. He's a young man. He was on tour. You probably heard this on TMZ, where they found his car in Hollywood Hills with a body hacked up inside of the trunk. And that body is the young woman that we're referring to.
Celeste.
Celeste, yes. So the thing is, and what Shirley was saying, is that it came out that the family knew she was staying with him, although they act like they had no idea where she was, and they, filed a missing persons report.
Yeah, so I think at first, if the family if they reported her missing, maybe at that point in time, and I don't know all the details, but maybe at that point in time, they did not know where she was at, right? And then they later on found out where she was at. But if you're dealing with, listen, at the end of the day, if a parent knows where their child is, you are complicit in whatever happens after,
That's
right?
I agree with that.
So if you're dealing with someone that's a big star, or the daughter is dealing with a big star and money and all those different things, the parent, maybe say, listen, go ahead, baby, and then things change, there's something changed, something happened, right?
Maybe the money stopped.
Maybe the money stopped. But also too, I think the other flip side of that is it does not do families who are really struggling to get any sort of attention for their missing loved one. It kind of hurts too, because now if you're anything like me, you may want to say, okay, listen, I need all the details. Tell me all the details. Tell me everything that that you can tell me,
right?
Because that can hurt. That can hurt a lot of different things. And what I found from my experience is sometimes you have to go to a family member or someone else, a third party, to get the information, because sometimes the families, they are embarrassed. So they don't want to give all the details, right? They just want their person back. So sometimes you have to go to a third party to get that information.
Wow. Now, you were here in Philly for the Kata Scott case, Sergio. Can you tell us a little bit about what you found out while you were here?
Yeah, so this is a case that my first missing person case, and this case is something that I would never, ever forget. Kata Scott, she went missing on October 4th of last year, which is my youngest sister's birthday. So I'll never forget this case. I travel from Rochester. I frequently try to go back home to visit my family and my friends back in Philly. So this one weekend, I was actually already going to be there anyway. So it all kind of worked out, unfortunately. And when I got to the school, it was so many people out there that it really made me happy. First of all, to see the love and the support that they were having for the family. Yes. Also, too, the love and support that they were having for Kata Scott, who they did not know. A lot of people that were there did not know Kata. Right. So to see the community come together, first and foremost, I think was a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we got to talk about the other side. The other side of that is, even though Kata Scott has justice, right? She got the justice that she deserved, and her family got the justice that they deserve. the presence of police and how fast they responded to this case, right? What about other families, right? What about other families? You know, they stopped the entire, and I've never seen this. I've been covering missing person cases in Philly a long time. I've never seen them stop a police academy to go find one person.
Wow.
I've never seen that.
Wow.
So the fact that they did that, not saying, and I want to make sure I'm being perfectly clear because I don't want nobody coming for me in the comments. Taylor Scott and everybody else deserve the same amount,
Yes.
the same amount of support, period.
Yes.
The same amount of resources. But, you know, I often think, and I still think about it, what made her case different from anybody else's? So when I saw all those people out there, I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is cool. You know, but also too, there were people out there that, you know, didn't really know too much, and it was a lot of speculation. It was so much. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, this case right here is a perfect example of the community. The community, you guys, you got to continue to go out. You got to continue to show support for all families.
Yes.
You have to.
You think social media was a big part of that?
Oh, it played a huge part in it. It played a huge part.
I had family calling me from Georgia asking me what was going on because they were seeing it on the news down there. So it definitely got around. For sure.
It did. It got around. So that takes me back to my first missing person case and the power of social media. After we did that case, you know, we put it on TV as we normally would. And then at that time, it was Facebook.
Okay.
In 4 days, that story reached almost 2 million people in 4 days. Television can't do that. You don't even you don't get 1 million viewers, to be quite honest with you, you know? So the power of social media, I mean, we have TikTok now, the power of TikTok. So social media, you know, as far as coverage, as far as exposure, it plays a major part. And yes, I think that's why so many people were invested. This was a young girl, young, beautiful, who just went to work. Right. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, now she's not here. She was Miss Pennsylvania and, you know, all those different things. And I think that I talked to my mentor about this. He's a search and rescue. And I asked him, I said, what made this case different? And we both said it was that sash. To see this young, beautiful woman, young lady with that accomplishment across her chest, with that, hey, she just graduated, right? She had her whole life ahead of her, someone that was doing great things. That right there, I believe that's the reason why people were invested, because of the outward appearance of this was a young woman who was going places, and she was from Philly, so.
Yes, yeah. Wow. Thank you guys. You guys have been awesome to talk to. Sergio, could you tell my viewers how they can find you?
Yes. So you can find me on social media. All my social platforms is Sergio Cruel TV. So you can look me up on all platforms. Send me a DM if you have any questions, anything that I can personally help you with. I'll try my best to respond to as many people as possible.
Boots on the ground for sure. I love that. Shirley, could you tell us where our viewers can?
I'm on Facebook all the time.
Okay.
Shirley J. Carter. And also shirleyjcarter.com is my website.
Okay. This is definitely a topic that we cannot just do a one and done. I want to revisit this topic again, but next time we will have law enforcement present with us. Guys, thank you for tuning in today to Naomi Spot. Leave some comments. Visit us on YouTube. Check us out. Let us know what you think. If you have some show ideas, reach out to us. We love you. We pray all the best for you. Be safe. God bless.